I made over $25,000 in real estate last year, but I'm moving all my money back into ATMs instead. That sounds crazy to most investors, but after 7 years in real estate and 25 years in the ATM business, I discovered something most real estate gurus won't tell you about. By the end of this video, you'll understand the 4 critical ways ATMs outperform the real estate business that I have verified firsthand. So here's my story about real estate. I wanted to diversify into real estate. We have the ATM business. I want to get into real estate. I see some of the big gurus, Grant Cardone and some of the other guys, they do real estate, very successful. So I said, you know what? I want to get into real estate also. So did a bunch of studying, decided that I was going to do some fix and flips, and learned that game and got into the real estate. I was told that I could invest $40,000 in the property, throw $100,000 in the property to fix it up, sell the property for $260,000, and pay commissions for $34,000. Now somebody might say, well, that's a lot in commissions. Yes, but we were dealing with Chicago. There were some other additional things that we were told that we're going to have to do. So they told us $34,000 in commissions. All right, gives me a net profit of $86,000, $140,000 investment. Not too shabby. I'm all in. I love it. Well, let me tell you what happened. My $40,000 property became an $80,000 property. My $100,000 of investment became $125,000. Now, I was told I could sell the property for $260,000. That became $265,000, and I still paid the $34,000 in commission. My net profit after all in was $25,000. Here are some of the negatives. I was told I can do a fix and flip. It's going to take me 6 months. My 6 months turned into 18 months. We went to the closing time 3 times to close, and the people didn't have the money. But every time they don't have the money, it was 3 months to get the closing table, and then at the closing table, they couldn't close. They weren't properly vested. I learned after 3 times how to properly vest somebody to close. All these things were trials and error. And I had a guru to help me through the whole process. Just in case I made a mistake, thank God they were there and they helped me through the process, or I would have lost money and it wouldn't have been making any money. But it was a big whole play for $200,000 worth of investment to get to the point that I made $25,000. I could have took some of that same money and made 3-4 times. My whole play on that whole thing was 10%. I made 10% with my money, and it was probably even less than that because it wasn't 6 months, it was 18 months. So I invented the passive income reality framework. This consisted of 4 items. Number 1, initial capital requirement. Number 2, time to revenue strategy. Number 3, ongoing time commitment. And number 4, can I scale it? So number 1, initial capital investment for real estate in this scenario. Now, when I was using my own money. It would have been worse if I was using the bank, because if I would have had to pay the bank, I would have been paying basically $1,000 a month to the bank for 18 months. It's $18,000. I was lucky I used my own money. I didn't have to pay the bank, so I saved $18,000, or I would have only made $6,000 a deal. Initial capital investment for ATM business is $6,000. That's going to cost your ATM plus money to put in the ATM. You're looking at making about $250 a month for passive income every single month. In the real estate business, you're going to have somewhere between $50,000 and $150,000. So it's a big outlay. And now, can you buy real estate and rental income? Yes, you can. You're still going to have to put down at least 30% to do this project. So if you have a $100,000 piece of investment, you've got to come up with $30,000. How much is that going to bring you in positive cash flow? Every deal is different, but for me, I was looking at 40 to 70% return on investment for my money. In real estate, it's unheard of. They're looking at an 8 to 10% return on investment, and that's always a good thing. That's what they look at. When I looked at a lot of deals, is 8 to 10%, 8 to 10%. That's always but there's a lot of risk in that. 2, time to revenue. So when I was looking at real estate, I looked at over 100 properties to buy that one property. That was a lot of time online. Every weekend, I would look at properties. At night, I'm looking at properties. What's in the foreclosure market? What's coming up that was in my price range in the neighborhoods that I was looking at? And then what I did is, when we found something that I liked, I talked to the realtor. I got a realtor, an expert. Then we looked at the properties. I looked at 10 properties, maybe even more, but I think it was about 10. I looked at to look at the properties, and then we put bids on these properties. I was a cash buyer, no contingency, want to close in under 30 days. So very attractive for the seller, no contingencies, Makes it easy. Here's my challenge. Every time we went to bid, it was like a bidding war. The properties were nowhere close. As soon as we found a $40,000 property, they quickly went 40, 50, 100, and then I'm out. The numbers didn't work. If the numbers don't work, then we're out of the deal. So we were quickly out of a lot of deals. And the ATM game, it's a $3,000 investment. You're gonna put however much you're gonna put in the ATM. You're gonna make somewhere between $250 up to $500 or more in an ATM. Now, not every deal is going to be a $250. There will be some dogs, but the time to revenue scale is pretty good. Number 3, ongoing time commitment. So in the ATM business, I allocate an hour per week per ATM. So however many ATMs you got, it's an hour per week. If you want to go 4 times a month, it's 4 hours. It'll generate you, again, we're looking at $250. Now, if you want to put more money in the ATM, you can cut that down. But I also allocate another hour for looking for locations or trying to find new locations. So every week I'm looking at 2 hours per week and doing that. The more ATMs I have, my time is still the same except for the filling of the ATM. I have 4 ATMs, so looking at 4 hours a week, but I stagger them. So that means 4 sometimes becomes 2, but I'm always looking at new locations. That's the major driver of time commitment in the ATM business. With real estate, I could only go so fast. So for me, I only had so much money. So my time commitment on looking for new properties, that was nothing. But what I had to do is I had to meet with the general contractor, met with him once a week. And then I had to make sure that what he told me he did is what they actually did. Sometimes when you deal with a general contractor, they're gonna tell you, hey, we got the windows in the house. And then you go to the house and the windows are not in the house. Sometimes they're telling you, hey, this bedroom's been drywalled, but guess what? It's not drywalled. So there is a lot of back and forth. If you're not looking at the property every single day, you're relying on them to either take pictures or tell you what's really going on. And sometimes what they tell you is not, because when you're dealing with a general contractor, they're trying to get money from you. You're trying to keep your money in your pocket as long as possible. And then they have to pay the people, electricians, HVAC guys, plumbers, carpenters, roofers. They're paying those guys, and they have to pay them when the job is done. The job is done. If you're paying the general contractor, you pay them the money, and you pay them. I always pay them right away when the job is done. When they tell me the job is done and it's not done, I don't trust them because they're general contractors. Nothing against general contractors, but they're always trying to fluff a little. And my experience is I don't pay until the job is done. And so I got to verify it's done. That takes a time commitment. And then you got your little bookkeeping things to make sure that you're writing the checks for the general contractors or for the painters or the plumbers or whoever else you're paying for. And you have material. I always paid for all the material. That's one way that I've seen time and time in real estate. People get bamboozled. The general contractor says, hey, I need $100,000 for material, and then they use that money for somebody else. I had a great general contractor, great working relationships, but you still got to verify what they say is true. Gentleman was outstanding all the way around, but you know what? You still have to verify, and verifying takes time. And so on my project, it was 5 hours a week to verify, to make sure, to meet with the general contractor, go over everything, where we're at in the project, what's going on, where are the delays, does he need my help, talking to a gas guy or an electrician or whoever it is, and making sure that the project is going. Was I hands-on? I was not. I had a general contractor to do this whole project, but I made sure the general contractor was giving me the information and was truthful. Because if you don't pay attention to your project, the money and your project goes on, and we're fighting against the clock. The longer the project takes, the less money I make, because I can't take that money and reinvest it into another project. So you're fighting the clock, you're fighting everybody to make this money, and you're all on the hook. What I like about the ATM business is, you know what? I buy the ATM, I own it, I'm done, and my revenue comes in like clockwork, and we go on to the next project. And number 4, scalability. For me in real estate, I couldn't scale this business because I had too much outlay, and I got to get the project complete. Now, I have friends that, you know what, they leverage their banking relationship to say, okay, I'm going to start this project, I get close to the end of this project, and I'm going out to buy another project, hoping that this project fails. But I've seen the market shift. Something happens, they don't sell the thing. It happened to me. I was supposed to close 3 times. I didn't close because they didn't have money. Had I started another project, I couldn't go forward because I would have to close, and I wouldn't have the money to close because all the money was tied up in one project to try to get to the second project. Can you borrow? Yes, but then you got to cut the bank in as your partner. So I was trying to maximize my profit by not cutting the bank in, but that stymied me on time-wise. So the only way I could be profitable is to go to the next project. I couldn't do the next project until my first project was done. And then we have that time of trying to buy a property, closing on the property, looking for that. I guess if you had more money, you could stagger that and get 2 projects going at the same time, or 1 closing and another one. You need more money. I didn't have the more money to do that, so I only could do 1 project at a time. With the ATM business, it's a lot of little projects that you can go. Scalability is easier to scale up faster and make that money, the residual income, over and over. You would say, hey Phil, why don't you know what? Instead of fix and flips, why don't you do rental property? You could do rental property. You still have to buy it. You still have to fix it. I mean, you can buy a rental property up here, but what I know about real estate, the profit's always in the buy. You have to buy it low. You have to fix it up. You have to get tenants. You buy low. You fix it up, and now you rent it out, and now you can do that. So you still have that same process of fixing and flip, but you're not flipping, you're fixing and renting. So how do we do that? It still takes time, still takes money, still takes investment, and your hold is just a lot longer on rental property than it is on a fix and flip. So these 4 principles: initial capital investment, time to revenue, ongoing time commitment, and scalability, create a superior passive income vehicle who investors who value their time and want financial freedom. If you could generate the same monthly income with 80% less time investment and 90% less startup capital, wouldn't you at least want to know how? So if you're thinking about starting your own profitable ATM business, I want to invite you to a free checklist entitled ATM Business Passive Income Checklist: 5 things you need to know to start your profitable ATM business so you can have a clear roadmap towards ATM business success. You can earn between $250 and $1,500 of passive income every single month. This sounds exciting to you? Click the link down below and start your ATM journey today. Again, this is Phil from the ATM Mastermind group page, where we buy your freedom back 1 transaction at a time. Please like and subscribe to our channel, and check us out at the ATM Mastermind group page. Thank you.